Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Rescue Michigan live stream. It's Adam D'Angeli from Rescue Michigan. Shane Trejo is also with us. And joining us tonight is Cindi Holland from Patriot Approved. Is that right? And where are you from, Cindi?
Howell, Michigan.
Great. Are you guys having power outages like we're having in Washtenaw County?
Oh yeah, they're outage all across Livingston County, but luckily we still have power.
Yeah, we're
There
lucky
are
too.
isolated areas that have power, but there's a lot of outages right now.
Yeah, I saw there was an event happening in Oakland County, like 80 miles from me, and they had to cancel it because of a power outage too. We got hit terribly by the storm. I have like 10 trees down in my backyard. My new exercise routine is going to be chopping up and throwing limbs over the fence. And I got a broken windshield, a broken window. I mean, the damage was horrible, but
Oh my gosh.
you gotta just remember it could be worse. I knew somebody a few years ago had a tornado hit their house and destroy everything he had. And, you're just glad it's not worse. So
Yeah, and plus you just got to be thankful that there was no loss of life. So that's
yeah,
the very most important thing.
yeah, absolutely. So, all right, I see we've got a few people watching live, and if anyone wants to say hello in the chat, just to let us know that the chat is working, that's always helpful because sometimes that acts funky. But we're going to be happy to answer some questions here tonight. And if you guys aren't seeing Shane on the screen, it's because the way that we have connected, it's basically going to switch between Cindi and Shane by whoever's talking. So we're just going to have to kind of play that by ear. So anyway, the reason why we wanted to bring Cindi on tonight, we did a video the other day. I had attended the Rally for Health Freedom in Lansing this past Friday, or I should say one of the rallies for health freedom in Lansing this past Friday, because there was more than one. And we did a video talking about, we had some criticisms of Stand Up Michigan based on their content. And in particular, and I mentioned this in the email blast that went out yesterday, they had this guy come on who was essentially the headliner. He was the last guest to speak after the host closed the show, but he was the last guest to speak, and he offered some very, very bad legal advice. And so we talked about that a bit in our video. And some people watched it and they said, why didn't you talk about the fight that happened and all the other crazy stuff that's been going on with Stand Up? And part of the reason is simply that I wasn't aware of all those things. I actually was at the rally. I was kind of far back and I didn't see exactly what had happened. We did see, by the way, thanks to chat, we do see you guys coming in. So the chat is working. Thank you. But we had some people asking to talk about some of the grievances and things that have been going on with Stand Up lately. And I think what we want to do is just try to get to the bottom of some of these things. There's so much confusion about Stand Up and Unlock Michigan because I should preface this by saying it seems like they've been almost intentionally confusing people about their relationship, that there's to the point where some people don't know that they are two distinct organizations, and it's kind of been going back a long ways. So we're going to talk about all those things. But the other thing that people were criticizing our video about was not mentioning that there was actually that second rally later that same day. And as it happened, when I showed up, I actually brought my dogs with me, and my original plan was to leave them in the car with the windows down in a covered, shaded parking structure. But I didn't feel right about it, so I took them out and I had them with me. And by 5 o'clock, I was just about ready to go. And I figured, well, someone will have the video, so we'll see it later. But I wanted to get your take, Cindi, and talk about that second rally and what exactly all this is about. So why don't we start with, by the way, someone in chat just posted, I'm the guy with the bullhorn who just got pummeled. Let me know if you have questions. Sub Conchis, we will probably be asking you some questions. But let's start with you, Cindi. So why don't you tell us some of the backstory? Why were there two different rallies this day, and who were the different groups that were organizing these things?
So Stand Up Michigan was contacted by a Dr. Vila, who is a doctor at one of the hospitals where Amber Castro was the original organizer of those protests. And so he wanted to do more protests, but he wanted to have one at the Lansing Capitol. So he contacted Stand Up Michigan and asked them to help. And I was sick throughout this whole thing, so I was kind of in and out. I was having high fevers and everything. I got a text message from the president of the Republican Women's Federation asking me to post the graphic advertising the rally at the Capitol with Stand Up Michigan.
And who is that, by the way, the president of the Women's Federation?
That is Robin Peake.
Okay.
She is the current president. And so I was so sick, I didn't even think about it. I didn't post any, I didn't make any comments in the post when I posted it. I just posted it. I did it from my phone in my bed. And it was either the next day or the day after that when my fever came down a little. And I started getting up and getting around the house. And I jumped on the computer just to check Facebook to see, what was going on and what I was had missed. And then I came across a post on my Facebook with that graphic advertising that rally. And there were people in the comments saying they would love to go, but they're going to be at work. There were some people that were making other comments that they weren't going to go for other various reasons. And so I just started telling everyone, please, let's just come together on the issue. It's more important to come together as, to bring the numbers, because numbers speak volumes, right?
Right.
There's power in numbers. And that's my message to everyone, is to just come together on the issues. And so there were people that said, no, Cindi, it's worse than it, we can't come together. There's other things. And I said, okay. So how about, I thought to myself, well, the rally is 3 to 5. It's during business hours. There were a lot of people who wanted to go that said they were going to be at work. That was my main focus. The other thing is I thought it would be a way to bring all the grassroots together. From the outside looking in, it would look like just one huge rally with a whole lot of people that stayed the whole time, and it would be a good thing, So I only looked at the positive aspects of this. I wasn't looking at anything that would be negative about it, because personally, I didn't see anything that would be negative about it. Like, I don't even understand what the problem was, why there was any perspective on there being a negative aspect to that. Bringing people together, to me, is always a good thing.
Right.
So, so I contacted a few people and I asked them if they wanted to work with me to extend the rally so that the people who couldn't or wouldn't go could still attend and support the cause. And they said, yes, that's a great idea, Cindi. That's awesome. I'd love to help. So that we started putting it together. I posted it, and the next thing I know, I get a phone call saying that Tammy is livid that I'm having this rally after hers on the same day for the same cause. And I was like shocked. Like I said, I couldn't even conceive the negative aspect of this whole thing. And so
Right.
The person that called me asked me if I would call Tammy and just explain to her what my intentions were. And so I said, fine, I can do that. I didn't call her till the next day because I started feeling sick again. I did call her. She didn't answer, so I sent her a text message explaining to her that it's, I understand she thinks this is a negative thing. It's a good thing to bring people together. It'll be great, and this kind of thing. And then she sends me the text messages, which you could see on my Facebook post.
Mm-hmm.
And just telling me that, as a real leader, I would bring to the first one. Well, I tried that. People are at work during that time of the day. And there were also a small portion of other people, for different reasons, that they just wouldn't make it to the first.
Sure.
So I just don't understand. I'm still baffled as to why that was such a bad idea. Anyway, she goes on to tell me that as a real leader, I would not have this second rally because I would direct everyone to go to the first one, which was impossible. It wasn't going to happen.
Right. Wasn't
So
the whole point of the second rally was for people that couldn't make the first one?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so as a leader, I'm supposed to bring people to the first rally, even though they couldn't or wouldn't come. So I just don't understand that concept. I don't get it. I don't understand what the negativity is about it. So anyways, I talked to the people that I organized the second rally with, and I told them maybe we should cancel it. They said, no, we can't cancel it. Why would we cancel it? This is not a bad thing, Cindy. So I prayed about it. And I feel like God is telling me this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Bringing people together is always a good thing. I don't get it. So anyways, we decided that we were going to proceed with the rally. And then obviously in this text message that she sent me, there's a problem because Adam Heikela is my MC. And apparently Tammy has an issue with Adam Heikela, which I had no knowledge of.
Adam Heichel is in the chat, by the way.
And so, and during the planning process, I will tell you, Adam did warn me. He said that she's going to be upset about it. And I just said, I don't think so. I joked a little bit and I said, no, I'm just kidding. I don't think she's going to be mad. I said, she may not like the idea at first, but once we do the rally and everything turns out great, and she sees what a good thing it was, I don't think there's going to be an issue. It'll get, it'll be done and people will move on and it'll be fine. So we proceeded.
And by the way, if I might interject and point this out, the Capitol is a public space. Like, nobody just has a monopoly on Capitol grounds. I mean, it's one thing, you can get a permit. You don't have to, by the way. But, it's not like they can just tell any organization, you can't do a rally after our rally. I mean, they can be mad about it, but they can't do anything to stop anybody from having an event there.
Correct. And we did pay we paid the fee at the Capitol to be permitted to use those steps. And that is why we had power.
Gotcha.
And so, so moving forward, my take on the whole thing is she wants to tell me what I should do as a good leader, but she doesn't take into consideration this good point here, which I want to make. To be a good leader, you have to understand there's going to be people you are going to have personality conflicts with for whatever the reason, but you don't alienate them and shun them from existence and tell people that they can't work with that person either. A good leader will understand and recognize that you're not going to be able to get along with everyone. But if there is someone in your circle who can, you allow that person to work with them. Because one of the things that I'm gathering from this whole thing is that she doesn't like Adam's loud voice. Okay. And, but I will tell you, there will be a point in time when we are going to need Adam's loud voice. And so to alienate him and shun him from existence, I believe is completely wrong, for one thing. The other thing, he's a Christ follower. He's a Christian. He's a brother in Christ. That is not godly. You don't alienate people and turn people against someone because you have a personal issue with that person. That's not godly. And I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I would just point out also, I've been involved in politics since 2007, so I've been doing this for a while, and personality conflicts in grassroots politics happen all the time. There's no getting away from them. And what my approach has always been is when there's an issue, you try your best just to avoid it and just plow forward. It's like with campaigns. If someone's running for office and you don't like the person, you don't have to volunteer for them. Go volunteer for somebody else. If you don't like who your congressman is, volunteer for another campaign. There's state rep campaigns, there's governor campaigns. There's always more things to do. And it's not like any one group has to be the only group under the sun. Well, like, one of the things that Rescue Michigan always emphasizes is we're giving you guys these tools and videos and training and things to go out and build your own local organization. We can't do what's going to happen on the other side of the state. Only the grassroots can do that. So,
right.
That's just the way it is.
When I first started speaking with Tammy about the frontliners group, I attended 2 of those meetings, and then I couldn't do it anymore because there were just things that were that I seen I couldn't get on board with. Now, did I say anything about that? No. There's been several occasions and incidents that I didn't agree with, but I didn't go talking about it, and I didn't tell anyone, oh, don't be friends with them, or I can't be friends with you. And so that's the other thing. The other thing is, I can be friends with someone, and I can be friends with you, Adam, and you may not get along with, or I'm sorry, I may not get along with someone that you are friends with, but I would never ever tell you that you can't be friends with that person and be friends with me.
Right.
That is middle school stuff. I don't get involved in that stuff, and I typically tend to stay above the fray. I don't get involved in people's personal disputes. I have been doing this for a long time. For the last 5 years, I've been doing nothing but try to bring the grassroots together so everyone can be on the same page, because that is how we win.
Yeah, I mean,
And
kind of looking from the end back, the goal, the hope is that all of these grassroots efforts converge to, number one, elect the best possible, to nominate the best possible candidates that we have, who are the most strongly pro-liberty candidates, and then to then elect them again in the general season and send a message to the political establishment that, election fraud will not be condoned, lockdowns will not be condoned, the constant deprivation of civil liberties. We're not going to allow the left to keep pushing and pushing further and further left. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And different groups are doing different things on that. Sometimes, and they have different issues. And I think where a lot of disagreement comes from sometimes is about tactics. And, in politics, emotions they tend to run high. It's just the way it goes. And, it's just kind of unfortunate. But
it is unfortunate. What's even more unfortunate is that now we have this big divide, because we have this person who claims that we are being the divisive ones, but it's like she's accusing me of being her and doing what she's doing. I am not dividing the grassroots. I haven't done anything to divide the grassroots. I've always done nothing but try to bring grassroots together and bring people together and help. If there are disagreements, I have done nothing but say, is there any way we can work this out so that we can all come on board for the cause? And that has been consistent with me for the last 5 years. You're going to have a hard time finding someone other than Tammy to say anything different. And but so here we are. And over the last month and a half, I have been keeping quiet. And but this whole thing with the rally and stuff, that was like the nail in the coffin for me. It's like somebody has got to do something to stop these people from doing what they're doing, because they are dividing the grassroots, and it is going to do nothing but cause us to lose. We're going to wind up with either Democrats getting elected or rhinos.
Yeah, and that's always, it works this way with the establishment too. They'll say on one hand, we got to unify, and then if it's not going their way, they'll be happy to lash out. I think the most extreme example of this was when Donald Trump won the nomination in 2016, and all of a sudden it's okay for Governor Rick Snyder to refuse to endorse him, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan to refuse to endorse him. Oh, when you don't get your candidate, you have no problem lashing out and dividing the party. But when your guys win, oh, we got to unify. And that's like the way it always seems to go. But anyway, let's get back to this rally. So I've got some video, and actually the gentleman who recorded it is in the chat, Logic's View. So if he wants to give us any context, feel free to chime in. But I want to just play this clip here. This is the relevant portion, and here we go.
Real men. I know there's a lot of men in this crowd. But come on, guys. Stand up. Guys, we're talking about real men here. We're talking about the real men.
And you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. None whatsoever. She has sacrificed. Ron has sacrificed. You have no idea, and I'm so damn sick of it. If you're not going to fight, if you're not going to get together, if we're not going to do this together, this is about liberty, people. It's not about your pet issue. Have your pet issue. My pet issue is abortion. I'm against abortion. But that's not the most important issue right now. I can't fight against abortion without liberty.
That's that bull crap we don't
If we
need,
don't do
man.
this together,
I don't know what happened.
we're not going to win. I am so sick of the right being.
All right, so there was some kind of skip there, but what did we just see?
So I guess that's when, and I wasn't there. I didn't come in until after it was time for us to set up.
By the way,
but
chat's
I've
correcting me. What
watched
didn't we
several-
see? Because I couldn't quite see in the video. There might be other video out there.
Oh, there's several different videos from different angles, and I've watched all of them. And at no point did I see Elliot is the guy's name who had the bullhorn.
He's in chat too. By the way, if you send me the links to videos, I'll put them in the description. I'm not gonna be able to pull them up live, but yeah, I mean, I think the original source video is what we should take a look at. And unfortunately, that one just didn't capture it. But nonetheless, yeah. So tell us, as you understand it, what happened there.
Yeah, so it's my understanding, and I've listened to, I've received messages and talked to different people. It is my understanding that Elliot said that he didn't plan to go to either rally, but after viewing Tammy Clark's post that day, saying that there was only not to pay attention to those who are trying to cause chaos and division. There is only one rally today, and it's from 3 to 5. So that he said that upset him because Tammy is going around repeating my talking points, by the way, about how grassroots needs to come together, put your minor differences aside, and come together for the greater good so that we can win. And he wanted to know why she is preaching that. And then she is shunning other grassroots groups and isolating patriots. And that he said that was hypocritical. And so he went there to ask her that, and that's what he was saying on his bullhorn, that, he wanted to know why she was, being a hypocrite and those different things, paraphrasing this. And when he was on the bullhorn, as Tammy was giving her husband or introducing her husband to come to the microphone, he must have had the microphone, otherwise you wouldn't have been able to hear it that clearly. But he did say, I heard her husband say, come on up here and say what you have to say. So it's my understanding that Elliot took that as he thought he was being getting an invitation to come up and ask his question and get an answer. And then when he started approaching the steps, Tammy's husband came down the steps at him and grabbed him by the throat.
Wow. Elliot, I think, is in the chat. And I don't know if YouTube will let you post links. He's saying there's a link to the video. I'm not sure if there's an easy way to send that link to me. Maybe what we could do, yeah, YouTube is, John's saying he doesn't see any links. YouTube is probably suppressing the links. If he has your email address, maybe he can send that to you, and you can send that to me in the Google chat, and maybe then I can find it. Because I would like to be able to play the original video that shows this. And by the way, Elliot, if that is you, let me also ask, was a police report filed when this happened? Because if he, put his hands on your throat, I mean, that's battery. And there's a police station right there at the Capitol. They're supposed to be watching the event too. I mean, aren't there usually cops going I remember seeing lots of cops on bicycles that afternoon. But
Elliot said he's not interested in pressing charges.
Sure.
He's not trying to cause any more problems.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like where a lot of other people are right now. People are getting sick and tired of her causing division and everyone else for the outcome of her actions. And stop trying to divide people. Stop trying to alienate people and shun people. There's a lot of people who've been fighting this fight for several years, and before Tammy and Stand Up Michigan ever came along, and many of these people, including myself, have never been paid. We've never asked for money, and everything we do for the greater good.
Yeah. Elliot's asking what email. I don't know if I want to give out my email, or certainly not yours live on air. So If he doesn't have it, we're gonna have to figure something out, but I'm sure someone here knows how to get a hold of him. So what we can do is put a link in the description. So it'll be after the fact. I know it's not what we want to hear. It'd be interesting to see the actual video, but it will be in the description, and it'll speak for itself there. So
yeah.
So
So anyways, bottom line is this: we're sick and tired of being divided, especially by an organization that claims they get up on a stage and talk about how important it is for us to all set our minor differences aside. Well, you can't ask people to do something you're not willing to do yourself.
yeah, I mean, what's striking to me, is at the same time this was all happening, this is when Tammy's husband is saying, we're the real men, and real men ought to do this, and real men, it's like, real men lead by example. Real men don't just tell others, you got to do this and you got to do that, and so on and so forth.
If you don't, I'm going to chokehold you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to grab you by the throat if you don't listen to me. Well, that's not how we do things.
Yeah.
And I'd like to chime in.
Yes.
That there's been a history of stand-up Michigan goons being incredibly disrespectful to patriots at events. This isn't just an isolated incident. This isn't just a guy in a bullhorn who's angry and wanted to cause a scene. There's a lot of things that have happened at rallies where these thugs were being surly to reporters. I remember at the Antrim event, just wanted to go and interview Mike Lindell and talk to him and potentially see if he was interested in doing some sort of event in Oakland County area where there'd be more people. And some of the stand-up goons treated me like I was a scrub, wouldn't let me get any access to him, to not because I even wanted an autograph, but because I wanted to advance the cause along, and was just incredibly disrespectful and rude and slovenly, just unprofessional doesn't begin to describe it. So there's been a long history of these events just being run terribly, and speakers who should not be allowed on the stage getting the mic and saying a bunch of nonsense that makes us all look like fools. And that's a big reason why so many people laugh off the vote fraud reform fight that we're in right now. That is crucial for saving the republic. People can laugh it off because groups like Stand Up will allow morons on the podium to spew absolute nonsense and get us all worked up, fired up, following, going down the rat hole into a dead end. And it's really unfortunate. So I know there's a lot of good people in Stand Up Michigan, at least at the county level, a lot of really good activists, good people, and they do great work. But we need to demand better leadership. If Tammy and Ron want to lead, they're going to have to do a better job of it. They're going to have to do a better job of security, of handling the grassroots, of making sure that the grassroots aren't stomped on at their rallies, making sure that idiots are given the microphone.
I'm seeing myself in the camera, and my headset is driving me crazy because these aren't aligned, and it's driving me nuts. All right, there. Okay, now I can think again. Sorry, I was just looking at oh my god. Anyway, Shane, you make 2 points here that I want to touch on. First is, and we talked about this extensively in the previous video about how insane it was to bring out this guy who says that he's talking to military generals and colonels about overthrowing the American legal system, and that you have a certain obligation when you're an organization, to be intellectually rigorous, to screen out those types from being the ones that you give a microphone to. But the other thing I was going to mention, as you were saying earlier about how they were muscling you out at the Antrim County event, is you are an actual journalist. You report for big league politics, and a national news site, and they should want to have coverage. It wasn't like the mass media was there covering that event, certainly not favorably if anyone was there at all. But both you and John from Us Against Media, who's in the chat too, we're being stonewalled. And I mean, it makes you wonder why, because isn't the organization supposed to want to build bridges and be unifying and all that good stuff? So Oh,
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those things where they're treating patriots like we're thugs and we're terrorists and we're second class citizens. We get enough of that from the liberal media and from the political establishment. We don't need to be getting that from people who are ostensibly on our side as well.
yeah. Hold on one sec. I'm seeing a message saying that I've got a link in my email, so I had to go to Just Me for a second so I could move a web browser out of the way. Let me restore the live chat. Tammy is back, and let me see if I can. Oops. Let me see if I can find this email here. Hold on. One sec. I got to open a new tab. Let's see. All right, give me just a moment, guys. Well, anyway, in the meantime, did I say Tammy? I meant Cindy. Cindy. Sorry. What are your thoughts on all this? And the other thing I want to talk about too is there's so much confusion out there about the relationship between Stand Up and Unlock Michigan. And I wanted to comment about that, but also if you had any thoughts on that. But let me see here. Oh wait, hold on. I got the video. So let me pull this up here. Hold on one sec. I'm gonna go to the YouTubes here. Let's see if I can.
I know there's a lot of men in.
Oh, here we go. All right, hold on. Let me change my screen around here. Here we go. All right, so here's the video. Let's play it.
This crowd. But come on, guys, stand up. If you've got to get a new job, then get a new job. But I'm going to introduce you to my husband, Farrell Clark.
By the way, before we get to the interesting part, I just want to point out this. We mentioned this in the other video too. Get a better job. They had this recurring theme of it's okay to quit your job or intentionally get fired, to start a legal action. And that is not legal advice. And you shouldn't just give out personal advice like that to thousands of people at once. There's a way to express that, if you have the ability to, we need people that are going to, subject themselves to hardship to do the right thing and to get the right policy. But, there will be litigation on vaccine mandates. There's no question. In all 50 states, there's going to be lawsuits everywhere. Asking people to just go out and quit your job or get fired intentionally is a shocking thing to say, and, again, it just goes to the responsibility an organization has to know what they're talking about and know what they're doing. But anyway, all right, here we go.
Hey, come on up on stage, brother. No, come on.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Where are the men? Right there. Guys, we're talking about real men here. Yeah. We're talking about the real men.
And you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. None whatsoever.
Okay, first of all, that was amazing. And in my humble opinion, she should file a police report and press charges. But who's that guy now on the stage who said, and you were an idiot? Because it wasn't the guy, because he just stormed off the stage to go choke that guy. Who was the other one that was speaking? Do you know? I don't know either. I don't know.
The voice sounds a little familiar, but I'm not.
Wow.
I wouldn't try to guess it then, because if I'm wrong, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Have anybody have any repercussions from that?
Unreal. Real men, ladies and gentlemen. Good Lord.
Well, I think that, if you see someone who is obviously upset, and the last thing that you should do is, rush up on that person and use physical force. You always want to try to de-escalate first.
Yeah.
Always. Okay. And then as far as the telling people that if you got to get fired, go find a new job. Unfortunately, when people try to push back on this, maybe one or two people are going to get fired. I mean, It could happen, and that's where the lawsuits are going to start. But
yeah.
But
it will happen. They're already in motion. There's no question it's going to happen. There's going to be class actions. There's going to be individual actions. And we talked about this on the show the other day. What lawyers are looking for, especially lawyers who work at firms that are looking to change public policy through legal action, you look for the best case. And one of the worst things that you have in a case is where the plaintiff sought to get himself in trouble for the purpose of getting into a lawsuit. There's going to be people who will say, I have religious objections to this. I'm not going to take a drug that was made from aborted babies, or who, the research that went to that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when, if you get someone on record and says, Stand Up Michigan encouraged me to quit my job, and, you've immediately destroyed your case.
Well, there also could be legal repercussions.
Yeah.
Toward Stand Up Michigan for that, because you can't give anyone that kind of advice and then have their whole lives be upended. And then at some point, when the person their whole life is upended, they go through these different emotions, right?
Yeah.
And then at some point, they're going to say, you know what? Stand Up Michigan gave me that advice. They gave me bad advice. Now look where I am. I think I'm going to sue them.
Yeah.
And look at what happened with Marlena. She, consulted the legal mind, the legal genius recommended by and brought into the state by Tammy Clark.
Yeah,
and
I was wondering.
Going to jail because of dealing with that complete idiot. It's just unreal, and they could ruin other lives or hurt other people's lives given this terrible advice as well.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was if Stand Up was the nexus between Marlena and that not lawyer guy, Rick Martin.
Well, Tammy, hey, look, it was Tammy's own word. She said, "I brought him into the state. I've taken flack for bringing in this guru, this genius." So she takes credit for it. I'll give her the credit.
Yeah. Speaking of giving the credit, people in the chat are saying that actually was the husband. He decked that guy and then ran right back on stage and grabbed that mic. He's quick, I'll give him that. But anyway.
Yeah.
So
the bottom line is Stand Up Michigan needs to, number one, they need to start being transparent when people ask them questions about their organization instead of blocking them and not answering their questions. Right there, you're giving people the impression of impropriety. So
Yeah.
naturally, the natural response to that is going to be suspicion.
yeah. I was
And then
amazed. Sorry, you go ahead.
And number two, they need to stop trying to split the grassroots and tell people you can't, if you work with this person, we're not going to have anything to do with you. And then tell everybody, if you're working with that person, we're not going to work with you, and causing that type of division among the grassroots. That is not helping our cause at all.
Yeah. I mean, I was amazed the media didn't take advantage of everything that happened there that day. And I think if I had to guess why they wouldn't, because when does the media ever not take an opportunity to make our side look bad? It's that there's actually a substantial constituency on the left that doesn't support vaccine mandates, and their best hope
Exactly.
is to make it look like nothing happened at all.
Exactly, because there's a lot of Democrats who are vaccine choice.
Yeah.
And I am also a Michigan for Vaccine Choice advocate.
Yeah.
As a precinct delegate, that is the first question I ask a candidate. Where do you stand on mandatory vaccination?
Yeah.
Because we knew this was coming.
Yeah.
They've been trying to do this for years.
And that is, by the way, one of the most important pieces of political action that people can engage in right now is getting the candidates on the record on these issues, because they're going to do everything they can to avoid answering these basic questions. And the most important, the most effective thing is you get them on record. What exactly is your position on mandatory vaccines? Government imposed, private entity imposed. We want to know where you stand. And if they don't, if they dodge and they refuse and they duck, you start shaming them for ducking and dodging. But we got plenty of time yet, because we're a long way away from the primary. Anyway, by the way, I want to ask you something else, because I saw on your Facebook page you had made a note that there was a sponsor listed in the Stand Up Michigan flyer for their rally. That it was so small I couldn't even read who it was, but there was something you had made a point about that, like maybe they weren't actually a sponsor of the rally. What's the story about that?
So if you look at the graphic that Stand Up Michigan was sharing across social media, there were 3 graphics up at the top of different organizations that were working on this rally. Supposedly they're the organizers. The first one to the left was a screenshot or the graphic that Amber Castro, who was the original organizer of these vaccine mandate protests at the hospitals. That is her logo that she uses on her Facebook page. And they took that and added it to their graphic as if she was part of organizing this portion of the rally, when actually she was one of the ones that was working with me to organize the second rally, and she was a speaker at the second rally.
Huh, hold on, I'm trying to pull this up here. Hold on one sec. I almost had it. Let me see if I can go back. I just had it. Hold on one sec. I'm going to try to find it. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So that's the group, and I can't make it out in that picture, but it says at the bottom of the screen here, sponsored by Stand Up Michigan and Fight for Medical Freedom. But they didn't speak at Stand Up's rally, they spoke at the second rally.
Correct.
Strange. And
And so,
but by the way,
person-
the other two organizations, Michigan for Vaccine Choice and United Healthcare Workers, were they given any speaking time at the Stand Up rally that you're aware of?
I believe they probably were. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't watched the entire video of the rally, the first rally, but
Okay.
I believe they were. I know Michigan for Vaccine Choice kept their booth open all the way through to the second rally as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious what their take on all of this was, because, I did, well, first I was at the rally, and then looking over the video, I mean, I know they had speakers on medical freedom. Some of them may have been affiliated with one of the groups or both of the groups.
Well, Michigan for Vaccine Choice actually promoted both rallies.
Yeah, but I was going to say, there's no question that Stand Up was constantly emphasizing this was their event. I mean, they kept saying over and over, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. And then near the end too, you could also hear Ron really trying to get people to get out of there as soon as their event was over. Say, oh, the rain's coming, folks. Let's get out of here before the weather hits. Which, because as it happens, it just started to rain around 5 o'clock, so they're trying to shuffle everybody off.
It didn't rain
there
for very long. It was like maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The rain went away, and the rest of the day was clear, and it was good.
Yeah. Well, we're now 40 minutes in, and I want to be sensitive to your time, because we are going a while here. But I did want to talk a little bit about Stand Up and Unlock, because there's so much confusion out there among the grassroots, and I didn't know if you had any takes on that you wanted to share.
Well, here's the thing. I've had, and I want to say this too, because I've had a few people that are loyal Stand Up Michigan followers come onto my posts and also go onto Melissa Caron's post, because now Melissa has also discovered that Tammy made a phone call to one of the organizers at another event where she's supposed to be speaking, and Tammy asked those organizers to remove Melissa from the speakers lineup. Now, and so now we have a few, and it's only been a few, but we do have people periodically jumping on the post and saying, why are you guys doing this? This isn't helping our cause, and you guys are, dividing and whatever. And here's what I have to say about that. If you are mad at the people who are exposing this, and you are not addressing it with the people who caused it, you are part of the problem.
Yeah.
And as far as Unlock Michigan and Stand Up Michigan's connection, they can try to separate themselves all they want to. But the fact of the matter is, Ron Armstrong sits on the board of Unlock, and he is on Stand Up. So there is a connection.
Well, and by the way, for anyone in the chat that hasn't already seen it, but Us Against Media, they've got a video out where they're really going through the relationship between Stand Up and Unlock, and they show a video where clearly Ron Armstrong is saying he's a board member of Unlock Michigan, and in other cases, conceding he's with Unlock Michigan, which there's
from his mouth.
Yeah, and I should say we do want to be careful, because there's a legal distinction and there's a political distinction. What seems to be going on is they're keeping the groups legally distinct, and yet at the same time politically trying to mush them together as much as they possibly can. Last year, when we were doing the Unlock Michigan campaign, I was with a group called Michigan United for Liberty. And we were very, very cautious at all times about how we portrayed Unlock Michigan, because, and the reason for that was because Unlock Michigan was a ballot question committee. And what that means is when you're advocating for, when you're collecting petitions for a ballot question, you have obligations to report to the state of Michigan. You have to report your donors, you have to report your expenditures. And the way you don't do that is either not being connected to the organization, not being a proxy for the organization. And where we were to be especially careful was not even to be expressly advocating. You know, we weren't saying get your unlocked petitions from us, because then we would essentially be an extension of that. And we thought, you know, knowing who the Attorney General is and knowing who the Secretary of State is, we wanted to be clear. So we'd say, yeah, this is a great effort. You guys should get involved in this. I was actually the county coordinator in my county for Unlock Michigan because it was a good cause, period. You know, to repeal the Emergency Powers of Governors Act, no one disagrees with that. But you had to maintain this legal separation. And I was surprised the Attorney General or the Secretary of State never did anything with them about that, because their line was blurred so immensely to the point that people thought they were both the same organization. And
Correct.
I'm
And then I also want to add to that.
Yeah.
To that thought. Unlock Michigan sent out an email saying that Catherine Henry's petition initiative hadn't garnered the signatures, and they were giving the impression that Catherine Henry's petition initiative was no longer in effect, which was not the case. That was not the case. And I will tell you that when it comes to the differences between the two petition initiatives, Catherine Henry's petition initiative went much farther to reel in the overreach of government, and would have if they were able to get the signatures without Unlock's, causing all those problems for her initiative. That petition, Catherine Henry's petition initiative, would have stopped them from being able to mandate vaccines on us. So we would not even be going through this had they not tried to circumvent her efforts in her petition initiative.
Yeah, I want to address this because I actually have some personal experience on the backstory of all that myself. Also, though, there is a comment in the chat. And by the way, folks, please do feel free to post comments. We're happy to, the more interaction, the better. So if you have questions for me or for Cindy or for Shane, by all means, post them in the chat. But Sub asks, why do they have a board? Is that normal? And that's a good question. First of all, nonprofit organizations do have to have a board. They can't be a sole proprietorship. So if they're a nonprofit, they have to have a board. I don't know what the legal structure of Stand Up Michigan is. Unlock probably does not, because they're a ballot question committee. So I don't think they're able to get nonprofit, and now they're also a super PAC. I don't think they're able to get status, so they don't have to have a board. However, this is an important distinction, because there's also, you can have an advisory board, for example. You can have an honorary chairman. You know, when I ran Concerned Taxpayers of Michigan back in 2015, Tom McMillan was our honorary chairman, because you wanted to give a guy a strong sounding title, so it would be impressive to people, but it didn't in actual meaningfully mean that he was on the board of the company or anything like that. So that's another way that they are, that they're maybe contributing to the confusion, is that I saw they also said Michon was a co-chair, but there again, co-chair can mean whatever you want it to mean. That can just mean, again, you can just call it an advisory board, which often an organization will do just to establish credibility. So whether or not, and I don't think Michon Maddock is involved in Unlock Michigan in any kind of legally binding capacity. I don't know about Ron Armstrong. I'm gonna guess no, because if you look at, and here I'll pull this up. I'll show you who Unlock Michigan is. They're different from Stand Up Michigan. Here, let me share the screen here. This is the Campaign Finance Committee search. You can go to look up anyone running for anything in Michigan, and also PACs and committees have to go there. So here's Unlock Michigan. Here's their super PAC. So you go to Unlock Michigan. Okay, so there's some things on this screen that might not mean anything to you guys, but that stand out to me. 2145 Commons Parkway, Okemos, Michigan. That is the address of Lansing Money, or one of their addresses. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of organizations registered at this address. It's Eric Doster's law office, and you see here Mary Doster is the treasurer. Eric Doster was the lawyer for the Michigan Republican Party for many years. Now, that doesn't mean that the Dosters are intensely involved in every single political project that runs through their office. They'll be their attorneys, so they'll be paid to incorporate an organization, so on and so forth. Then you also got the super PAC here. And this one, the treasurer is Heather Lombardini of the Sterling Corporation. And again, this is maybe not, again, maybe I'm putting this out for the first time. I'm not criticizing this, by the way. I'm okay with money being spent on good policy. You know, I think it's good that the state of Michigan has an organization willing to pony up the $3 million it took to run the Unlock Michigan project. But let's not pretend, the way Stand Up Michigan often does, that the grassroots just magically made it happen all by themselves. The Sterling Corporation is also the political arm of the Senate Republicans. I mean, this is why they're connected to Mike Shirkey. And again, I'm not criticizing Mike Shirkey about this. I'm glad he gave Unlock Michigan the money they needed to make these things happen. That's better than it not happening. But the point of all this is Unlock Michigan is a serious professional organization. And if I had to guess where the money came from, because if you look at the big donations for Unlock Michigan in the past year, most of it comes from some group called Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility, which is just a nonprofit, so you don't get to see where the money's coming from. I would guess coming from the Restaurant Association, maybe the Small Business Association, and again, good, fine. But the question is Unlock Michigan, which also has ties to like one of the big field organizers for Unlock Michigan. His email address literally came from Templar Baker, which is a PR firm founded by Bobby Shostak, former chair of the Michigan Republican Party. Are those guys going to want to get involved politically with Stand Up Michigan, which is going out and saying we've been talking to generals about staging a military coup to overthrow the legal system? No. What they were doing was they were getting involved, and I think at the time they didn't understand. The idea was these guys have a lot of grassroots people behind them, and this will get the grassroots engaged and everybody will be happy. And this is kind of the difficulty with coalitions, is you get the other side's, you get the other side's help, but you also get their scandals, you also get their enemies, you also get all their problems. And that's kind of where I think things have gone here.
That's where we have the problem. See,
yeah,
we're going to disagree on the whole Mike Shirkey involvement, and also Ron Weiser did donate to them as well.
Yeah.
And so that's just what we're seeing from the Unlock Michigan side of things. We are not able to see the Stand Up Michigan side. So who are their donors?
Yeah.
That's one of the questions that get people blocked.
Well,
and that's not transparency.
Well, I'll give you the counterpoint to that, because Rescue Michigan does not disclose our donors. We don't want to disclose our donors, and for good reason. The big case before the Supreme Court that settled this issue was NAACP versus Alabama. It was a civil rights era case, and what was going on was the state of Alabama was trying to compel the NAACP to disclose who all their donors were, and for the obvious reason of being able to persecute them politically. And that's the problem that now the Trump conservative movement has, is they want donor lists so that they can browbeat and bully any potentially vulnerable donors they can find. And as a side effect of that, they also get the benefit of chilling donations. If someone wants to donate to Rescue Michigan or Stand Up, and they're concerned that their names will be on a list that their employer might see or lead them to get them fired, they're not going to donate. And the purpose of that case was to say that people have a right to free speech, and getting involved in politics is speech, and participation includes donations, and that can include anonymous donations. So
yes, and that's a good point. That is a good point, and I do understand that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, to
the
me,
way that they're going about it is wrong. You don't block people for asking you those questions, and you don't label them someone that's just being divisive.
Well,
it's a question that people ask. People want to know who your donors are, because obviously you want to keep your donors happy. So who are your donors? That's what we want to know. And then but that's a good point.
I mean, to me, the test is what are people doing with the donor's money? And that's a decision for every individual donor to make. Is my money being used wisely? And the proof of it comes out in what they do, what policies they advocate for, how they advocate for, if they're getting involved in campaigns and elections, who are they supporting, why are they supporting them, and we're going to see all of that. At the end of the day, and we don't know where things are going to go next year, but if Stand Up is starting to, encourage their people to support this candidate or that candidate, they're going to say, okay, well, what's the candidate, what's the message? And that's where they can still decide, okay, is this something worth doing? So that's my take on all that.
Yeah. So yeah, I understand the other side of that thing. So, I mean, the other side of the argument, what you're saying, I get that. But the way that they're going about it is causing people to be suspicious. The
Sure.
other thing is, I know a little bit of stuff about some behind the scene things, which also, again, involves Catherine Henry's petition initiative.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Sure,
can
he
I?
was not happy about that one.
Well, by the way, let me give you the backstory about that too, from how I saw that when it played out originally. Back when this was back in early last year, and the first the first talk of anything like what Unlock Michigan ended up forming and doing originally came from he was then a congressman, Paul Mitchell, in the 10th district, and he said something like, we should do this, we should do a citizen initiated law to repeal this Emergency Powers of Governor Act. And I was really excited about this. I thought, oh, that's a great idea, we should definitely do that. I had concerns at the time. Paul Mitchell was going to use that to parlay his way into maybe running for governor or something, because he'd done this in the past. He'd spent a lot of money fighting Prop 1 in 2015, putting his name out there. He'd run for Congress in 2014 and lost. And of course, when he ran again 2 years later, he parlayed that as, I'm the guy that fought Prop 1 and da-da-da, and he actually won the nomination and took the House seat. Now, that being aside, we still thought that was a good policy. Now, at the same time, Catherine Henry was talking about doing her constitutional amendment, and I thought, well, and we looked at some of the early drafts about that. And I said, well, I've got a couple of concerns here. The first one is, unlike a citizen-initiated law, it will have to go to the ballot. It can't just be, you get the signatures and the legislature can pass it. It only gets adopted if the voters pass it in November. And that means, you can't just have the campaign to get the signatures. You've got to convince a majority of voters in Michigan to vote yes on it in November. So this is going to be a big, big project. The other concern was that the time they had was very, very short because the election was coming right up. And the other thing was, I didn't disagree with the policy that she had, but it was like amending 5 different articles of the Constitution. And the problem you run into when you're trying to persuade voters to adopt something on the ballot is that the more complicated it is, the easier it is to get people to vote no because they don't understand it. I mean, that's one of the angles that we used when we were attacking Prop 1 was, look, there's all this other garbage in here that's not just raising money for roads. And it's effective because when voters think they don't know what's in this thing, they're gonna tend to vote no. So anyway,
Right.
so
which is fine, but
yeah, and
that
that's
still doesn't negate the fact that the Unlock was
yeah.
directing their people to tell people not to sign Catherine Henry's petition initiative, and all of the back end dirtiness that they were playing with her.
Let me finish the story. Wait, because that's all. That's just like I said, people can disagree about tactics, and that's all fine. Nothing wrong there. But what happened was Stand Up invited us, as with Michigan United for Liberty at the time, to get on a conference call, and they said, we're going to talk about getting together on strategy. And I thought, oh, great, we'll have a nice, I'll talk about things like what I just said, and they'll talk about what they think, and da-da. And what they did on that call was, that was my first introduction to Catherine Henry, was they brought her on, and they said, this is a great thing, we're going to do it. Yeah, this is going to be awesome, we're going to do it. And so they were in total support of Catherine Henry at that time. And they said, yeah, we're going to do the Restore Freedom Initiative. It's going to be great. And, 2 months later, the deadline went by, and, things kind of went like I said they would. They didn't have enough time to get that many signatures. And then Stand Up dropped her like a hot potato and glommed onto Unlock Michigan immediately, when I had said from the get-go, Unlock Michigan's a great thing. And they said, no, we're going to do this instead. But then when that didn't pan out, they jumped right on the bandwagon with Unlock and chucked Catherine Henry in the ditch. And then Catherine Henry came out and said, yeah, we're gonna keep pressing on with this. We're gonna try this again in 2 years. And I guess this is, since then, Stand Up is now, doing the whole "I don't know you, sir" routine, saying like, "Oh, were you?" Yeah, now we think this is very bad because they apparently had some kind of personal conflict with her. So it's just funny how the sides change.
I'd like to chime in.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that really angers me about Stand Up is, not necessarily who's funding them, but they're dishonest fundraising ploys. Like one example, there's been several, but one that really stuck in my craw was that, Whitmer has just clowned us and clowned the Republicans. And, Stand Up has, in my opinion, not done a particularly good job of fighting back against her COVID edicts in terms of real results. So, something like a year or more than a year after the unconstitutional lockdowns were put into place, Whitmer finally, I think a lot of this might have to do with, the MIGOP under the new leadership was hitting Whitmer better in the press. Her approval ratings dropped like 10 to 15 points. And so she announced that she was going to alleviate the restrictions and open up restaurants earlier because of the poll numbers. So what does Stand Up Michigan do? They say, well, it was our legal wranglings behind the scenes. We've been working so hard and so diligently in all these meetings and all this, trust the plan kind of garbage, that they're doing all these things behind the scenes working for you, and they got it. They got the rules changed. No proof, no evidence, flies in the face of anyone who understands how politics works. Whitmer has just laughed in the face of all these Republicans for years and all these Republican groups. So the idea that they were working diligently the entire time, then that's what did it. And give us money. Now give us money. That's really disgusting. And they've done it on countless issues. They're always glomming onto things. They're coming into local organizations and they're taking them over. And it's one thing if you want to unite groups and the local groups have autonomy, but I've heard in many situations that is not the case. I've had activists tell me that they've had a board thrust upon them for local organizations when the group itself came to a different conclusion on who they want to do. They're like, no, here's your board, here's who you're going to be leading your organization. So that has pissed a lot of people off, and that's the type of stuff that's dividing the grassroots, not anything that we're doing.
Yeah, we saw in the video as we were breaking it down in our last in our last video on YouTube where we went through the rally. They took credit for Operation Gridlock, which they had nothing to do with that. The Michigan Conservative Coalition organized that one. They love to take credit for everyone else's work, and you shouldn't do that because it's unethical.
Yeah, they also took credit for killing that bill, which you put the video out. And on the website, you put the links that all you had to do was click the link and it would show you who your representative was. And you just click the button and it would send it to your representative and your senator all in one click.
Yep.
All the email was written out for you and made it very easy. I can tell you from all of the activism and things that I have done, calls to action, that was the major factor in killing that bill.
Oh, well, thank you. It's nice someone gives us credit for something.
But they try to take credit for that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all Stand Up Michigan.
Yeah. All right, guys.
And that's
well,
also another thing, because people are just really getting tired of, Stand Up Michigan hijacking all their events, taking credit for every accomplishment that is actually made by the grassroots. It's a collaborative effort. We are all a part of those accomplishments.
Yeah.
Stand Up Michigan doesn't recognize anyone. It's always Stand Up Michigan who did everything.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, it's after 10 now. I want to keep it open. If anyone has any questions in the chat, we're happy to take those on. So thank you all for joining us. And if there's anything else you guys wanted to cover, I think I've covered everything I came to, or that I wanted to cover. So, I don't want to go late just for the sake of, going on and on, because
Right.
we do have a long video, and, I, for one, like long videos, but most people don't. So,
Right. So
if you guys have
there's
anything
any
else to add,
I can answer real quick. If not, we can move on.
all right, I'm just going through the chat here. I see there's a good number of comments. I don't think I see any questions for me or for you. So I guess we'll maybe give them another moment or two in case anyone's got something that they're just thinking of right now. So in the meantime, well, Cindi, why don't you tell us about Patriot Approved?
So late 2020. Curtis Clark came to me with an ideal to endorse candidates. And he created this website, kind of like one of those kind of free websites where you can just, what is it, like GoDaddy or something like that, where he kind of created this quickie website for Patriot Approved. And he went through his ideal with me, and I said, it's great, it's a good ideal, but it was before the election. And I said, let's do this after the election and we'll hit the ground running. Right now we need to focus on getting Trump reelected. And so about January is when we started really pushing the whole Patriot Approved ideal. And it's a vetting service for the grassroots. So what we're doing is we have a comprehensive vetting system that is not being used by any other organization in Michigan. It is, and when I say comprehensive, I mean comprehensive. It's very detailed. There's a lot of things that go into it. And so we do a questionnaire. And right now we have adapted Deborah L. Babcock's America First questionnaire for the candidates. And we're working in collaboration with her on the questionnaire part. And then we also do the interviews. And then we also follow these candidates around to make sure that they stay consistent, and to see if we can gather any other intel that would give us some information about their history, things that we can pick up on. And then we also at times have to go even farther and do a complete background check. And most of the time, I can tell you, I prefer doing the background check. I don't like to rely specifically on a background check because sometimes there's things on paper that doesn't really give you the whole story of the candidate. So you have to take all of these things into consideration, and that's what we're doing. And so that we come up with the best candidate that, number one, knows and understands the U.S. Constitution and the Michigan Constitution, adheres to the Bill of Rights, is pro-life. And when I say, I want to reiterate this, when I say that knows and understands the constitutions, I mean fully know those constitutions and all that it encompasses. So when I put that out, one person had questioned me and said, well, I don't see anything about the Second Amendment there. Well, that's already encompassed in the U.S. Constitution, so I don't feel the need to reiterate it. But yes, we are very strong Second Amendment. We believe that if the Second Amendment goes, the rest of the Constitution goes with it. We believe in medical freedom, America First policy, and we want to make sure that we are asking people to vote for the candidates who understand what it means to be a representative of the people. We are tired of these elected officials saying that there are leaders. Okay, we don't need a leader. They are not elected to be our leader and dictate to us what they think we should live, how we should live our lives. We elect them to represent our point of view on how we should live our lives. And we want to make sure these candidates that we asked you to vote for understand that.
That's great. Do you guys have a website or some way that people can get in touch and get connected?
Yeah, so the website is patriotapproved.org.
Great. By the way, are you working with Patrice? Because she's got a group I think she's based in Stockbridge, so it's not too far from you. And they just put out something called Contract with Michigan, which is similar, I think. They're saying candidates, it's a candidate survey basically where they're signing a pledge to, very similar statements.
Mm-hmm. And we are trying to work with all the grassroots all across the state. And that's kind of why we got thrusted into this whole deal with Stand Up Michigan and this whole frontliners deal, which really didn't work out too well because mainly they wanted everybody to come under the Stand Up Michigan label and dismantle. And I explained to Tammy when I had the conversation with her, it's not a good idea to ask these grassroots organizations to dismantle, and that it is very important that they all retain their individual identities for many reasons. And I told her specifically my number one reason for that is because I don't believe in giving one organization that much power, because that is where corruption begins.
Yeah.
You have to have a check on that stuff. And when you put all of the eggs in one basket, that's when you're asking for trouble.
Yeah. By the way, some people in the chat are asking, what do we know about Matt DePerno and Antrim County related money? I personally don't know anything about that, so I don't want to speak on something I'm not familiar with, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I know that Matt is in the negatives on that case. So there were people who were saying, don't worry about donating to Matt DePerno. He's fully funded. That is not true. That is not true.
And I'd like to chime in that the number I remember hearing was that it might be more now, but the number I remember hearing was $400,000 that he had raised. And with how expensive it is to do lawsuits and how difficult the court system is and all the hoops they put you through and they bleed you dry at every turn, $400,000 does not sound like an overwhelming amount for the type of lawsuit that he's doing there. So I think that's just a baseless attack on DePerno personally.
No, I mean, first of all, anybody who tells you a lawsuit is fully funded has no clue how the law works, because there is no such thing as a fully funded lawsuit. Lawsuits can get extraordinarily expensive extremely quickly. And especially when your opponent is the state running on taxpayer money, they've got more than you ever can. And, if they want to file motions, to quash discovery, if they want to resist discovery, they want to file all kinds of, you have to answer every single one. Every single one of those takes a lawyer's time. And discovery itself.
And the thing that we have to remember here, this isn't your ordinary lawsuit here. I mean, he is getting every imaginable opposition that you can imagine he is facing. Okay, so they are trying every trick in the book to stonewall him on everything, and it costs money to do all of that. And here's the question I would have for people who thinks that Matt DePerno is dragging in all this money and pocketing it. First of all, Matt DePerno's law practice has suffered because he took this case. Yeah. So he's not making any money off of this. All the money he's brought in is gone into pressing this case. Yeah. And secondly, I would ask, how much is your freedom worth? Right.
Oh, someone else also asked, who has Stand Up Michigan helped out financially with legal cases, which is an interesting point, because, one of the cases that we've been helping someone out with was the Lucas Gearhart case. That's the student who's been facing criminal charges, terrorism charges for posting a photo of his rifle and joking that it'll make snowflakes melt. And what we encourage people to do is give to his GoFundMe, which routes directly to his family, to his legal defense. If you want to support someone who's got legal issues, you just support their defense fund. I mean, that's all there is to it. There's no need to have it run through an organization. It's really just that simple.
If you are gonna invest your money into someone or into to an effort on election integrity, look at who is producing results. Yeah. I mean, all of those court hearings are all posted publicly. You can see everything that is happening with that case. And he gives constant updates on what's going on with it. It's not like, he's just, la-di-da, I'm just going to keep collecting money and I'm not really going to do anything, Yeah. And I know some people, maybe Matt DePerno is just not their cup of tea, and that's fine. But he's fighting the good fight for the right reasons.
Yeah, I mean, on this program, I've been critical of some of his filings, but doesn't mean, and we've very much gone after the state senate, just baldly accusing him with no evidence of doing this all for personal gain, and that's patently ridiculous. Because if the agenda of Pat Colbeck, Matt DePerno, you could even say me, is personal gain, we're doing it wrong, because this is not the way you make money. Frankly, the way you make money is doing the same that Michigan does. Tell people what they want to hear, and take credit for things you don't do.
Pat is not making money off of this either. No. I can tell you for a fact. I help facilitate some of these speaking engagements for Pat. He is not taking a dime for any of his speaking engagements, not 1 cent.
Yeah. Some people are asking about the governor's race, and I don't know if that's on topic enough for us to get into. Someone posted I did a video recently after the fundraising numbers came out, so there is that. Other than that, I would just say, it's still too early to tell. Someone asked, they've heard a rumor Justin Amash is going to get in. Oh, please do it, Justin. Please do it. Split the anti-Trump vote. That'll be great.
Yeah, he couldn't even run to win a district race.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's not gonna win the entire state.
No. The only question is what would that do to the dynamics of the race? And the only people that support him are virulent Trump haters, so that's
a very few. That's a very few.
Yeah. Now there is the other point, though, I should say. When the August primary, maybe it's a June primary, depending on what they do, comes up next year, one thing that we all be thinking about is what are Democrats going to do in those primaries? Because we don't have partisan voter registration. And, 3 years ago, was it 3 years, 4 years ago? Whenever it was, when the candidates were Whitmer and Nessel and Benson, the Democrats had their own primary to vote in. And so they do. But what often happens when Democrats have absolutely no contests on their side of the page is they'll go over and vote in ours.
Exactly. So, they vote for the most crazy candidate, the out there one that is obviously not going to get enough votes.
I'll give you an example from your neck of the woods. This was 7-something years ago. But the representative in I think the 47th district, yeah, it must be. There was a candidate who was a Tea Party candidate. Her name was Wendy Day, and she was kind of the grassroots favorite. But there was like 5 other candidates in the race. I think it was like 6 candidates total. And at the time, the big issue was right to work among the left. And the labor bosses surveyed all the candidates, and the only one who refused to say I support right to work was the one they all endorsed, Hank Vappel. He won the primary, won the seat, because the Democrats all voted in that primary for him.
And they do it all the time.
And Hank Vappel went on to block Representative Riley's pro-life bills. So there you go. So yeah, folks, just something to keep in mind, because it doesn't cost a whole lot to file for office, and having some warm bodies on that other side of the ticket,
Exactly. Exactly.
keeps them honest, if you know what I mean. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right.
They'll stay out of our primary races if they feel like they need to rush over to the Democrat side to save their favorite candidate.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey guys, we've been going for well over an hour now. Shane, Cindy, if you have anything you'd like to add, by all means, and then let's close up the show.
So here's what I want to add.
Yes.
It is time for people to come together and work in collaboration. Set your minor differences aside and let's move on. Let's get this thing going, get it together. Let's work together in unity, real unity. And I'm also speaking to anyone that's in Stand Up Michigan, Tammy Clark. It is time to stop the games. Now, I am willing to let everything and set all of this stuff aside if we can all just agree to get along for the greater good and get some wins for 2022.
Amen. Thank you. Shane, anything else before we go?
Just like to reiterate that, Stand Up Michigan, a lot of the people involved with it at the local levels are really good people. They're involved in the fight against vaccine mandates. They're doing a lot of good work. It's just we have to demand better from our leaders. I'm the 11th district chairman, and people will criticize things I do sometimes. A lot of the times it's, people being rude, but it's sometimes it's constructive criticism, and you have to take that into consideration. You have to reevaluate. We all have to do a better job, but we've been pointing out things that Stand Up at the statewide level has done that are inexcusable, and they have to quit denying these things, quit deleting comments, quit running from criticism. They have to address these things if they want to really unify the grassroots as they say they do.
Yeah, and stop asking people not to be friends with certain people that they just don't like for personal reasons. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, Yeah, I've
And there
got,
are a lot of good people. I do want to reiterate that because I left that out of my statement. I know
Yeah.
for a fact there are a lot of good volunteers and good people on the local levels that are affiliated with Stand Up Michigan, and I appreciate them more than they could possibly know.
yeah. I have an interview I did with someone who was a county organizer for Stand Up who got some great information for us, which I still haven't aired because, well, first I had a whole bunch of random other things happening, and now ever since that last video we did about the rally came out, I want to make sure she's still okay with us doing it. But yeah, that's true. You know, everyone's getting involved where they think they can be most effective, and Stand Up has, you know, they do have numbers, and they are aggressively going out and telling people to start county groups, and that's, you know, as long as what they're doing locally is effective, that's good. But at the same time, as you guys said, you know, we do have to point out when things are happening at the very top that that can't just be ignored. So
Yeah, can't be ignored because we're going down a dangerous path right now. And if we
Yeah.
continue, we are going to lose 22 big time.
yeah. Well, hey, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks everybody for all that you do for Liberty, and thanks of course to Cindi for being our guest tonight. So thanks everyone for all
Thanks
that you
for
guys
having
do
me.
for Liberty. All
God
right,
bless you. Have a good night.
you too. Peace.